This is the myth of Darin, a sovereign of sorrow, with marrow that burned in the hollows of bone. No promise of mourning, just perilous warning. A warrior fighting a battle alone. The spine was a wire, a terrifying fire, a pyre of pain that was driving him deep. He sought out a healer, a medical dealer, a stealer of sanity, planting to sleep. They handed him poison, a silent, destroying the violent, deploying of chemical chains. A toxic concoction, a tragic adoption, a magic distortion that flooded his veins. The gatekeepers faded, completely degraded, evaded the warnings that flashed on the screen. They packaged the terror, the tragedy, error, and handed the matches to shatter the dream. To shatter the dream. The serotonin surged, the sanity purged, reality blurred as the chemistry crashed. The memory splintered, the spirit had wintered, the innocent injured, the majesty smashed. He woke in the prison, a clinical system, an infinite chasm of medical walls. Confined in the panic, they labeled the manic, organic mechanics destroyed in the halls. A father of three, stripped of being free, begging them softly, this just isn't right. But deaf to his pleading, ignoring the bleeding, conceding him over the demons of night. A chemical capture, a terrible rapture, a fracture of everything holy and true. They broke him to pieces, the torment releases, diseases invented from out of the blue. Oh, this is the legend, the heartbreaking fable, a ghost at the table just seeking his place. A titan in exile who wandered the miles, deprived of his smiles and stripped of his grace. He carries the world on a shattered foundation, a quiet salvation through absolute hell. The greatest of tragedies, robbed of his majesty, trapped in a cell by the poison they sell. The sweetheart he cherished, the marriage had perished, the carriage of love had been driven to dust. The promise was broken, the cruelest word spoken, a token, the trauma replacing the trust. Now exiled and isolated, hated, debated, deflated by those he had held in his heart. He works in the shadows, the graveyard, the gallows, a father just trying to finish his part. The factory mold and the metal is folding, he's holding the weight of the night on his back while suffering chronic, the torture demonic, ironic. The healer initiated the attack. No meds for the burning, the stomach is turning, the universe turning a blind eye to grief. But willpower massive, he's far from a passive, a master surviving without a relief. The system denied him, the doctors decried him, the dealers inside him. His spirit was sold, but look at the anchor, surviving the rank of the banker of pain who turns suffering to gold. He teaches his children the buildings he's building, the shielding he offers through blood and through sweat. A victim of science who stands in defiance, a massive reliance on walking straight, yet they murdered his history, crafted a mystery, misery wrapped in the pharmacist's lie. But he is the alchemist, clutching the catalyst, battling back with a tear in his eye. So weep for the warrior, silent explorer, the bearer of burdens they forced him to bear. They took all his power, was delicate hours, his flowers, and left him alone in the snare. But Darin, the sovereign, the myth, and the modern, the father who wouldn't abandon his seed through chemical warfare, the ultimate torture. His love is the compass, his spirit the creed. The tragedy stands with his calloused hands, a monument built out of sorrow and skill. The greatest of stories, stripped of its glories, but fueled by the fire of sovereign will.